Hello everyone. For this lesson, I'll show you how to graph linear inequalities. Before we get started, you need to understand that whenever you have a less than or greater than, you're going to use a dashed line when you're graphing, okay? If you have a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to, you're going to use a solid line. Okay? Alright, let's start off with this problem here. Let's say we have this inequality. Y is greater or equal to negative 2x plus 1. Right? So now, we're going to treat this just like an equation, right? This symbol less than or equal to, we'll treat that just like an equal sign. Okay, so how would you graph that? Well, you start off with the y-intercept, that 1 there. That's your y-intercept. So you go ahead, right? Go to 0, 1. That's the y-intercept. And that's the first point there. And now the slope tells me it's a negative 2 over 1, right? That's the slope. Remember, the slope is just the negative 2. It's not negative 2x, just the negative 2. Remember, that's your m. Right? So it's going to go down 2 units, over 1 unit to the right. Down 2 units, 1 over. Okay? Now, the next thing to determine is it going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Right? Since this is greater than or equal to, we're going to use a solid line. Okay? So now we can just connect these dots here. Right? It's going to be a solid line, just like that. And the next thing we want to do is to determine which side we will have to shade. Right? So in order to do that, you pick a point. And the best point to use is 0, 0, which is the origin. Right? So we plug in 0, 0 into this inequality. Let's see if it's true or false. Alright, so we decided to use 0, 0 as our test point, right? So this is your x, this is your y, so we're going to plug it in. The y is 0, it's greater or equal to negative 2 times 0, right, because x is also 0, plus the 1. Right, when you do this out, this is going to be 0 greater or equal to negative 2 times 0 is just 0, plus the 1 right here. So we have 0 is greater or equal to 1. Now, is that true or false? Well, we know 0 is not greater or equal to 1. So this is false. Right? So now if you look at the graph, this is where 0, 0 is. Since this is false, you don't shade the side with the point that you choose or you chose earlier, right? Which is 0, 0. Right? So you don't shade that side, which is the left-hand side of this line. You're going to have to shade the opposite side. So I'm going to shade this side here. Okay, and that is how you graph this inequality. Y is greater or equal to negative 2x plus 1 is the area that you want to shade is this side of the line. Okay, so all your solution set will consist of all these points, right, along this line as well, because it's a solid line, and all the points to the right of the line. Alright, I think we're ready for another one. Let's say we have 4x plus 2y and it's less than 8. Right? So now we want to make this, we'll solve for y, so we have to get rid of the 4x and the 2. Right? So let's do a little bit of math here. So we're going to minus 4x, and then we're left with the 2y less than negative 4x plus the 8, right? Because 4x here and the negative 4x, they go to 0, and we combine the right hand side, and we have that. Now there's only one step left, which is to divide by 2 here, divide by 2, divide by 2, right? So now we're left with y is less than negative 2x plus 4. Now the next thing we want to do is look at this less than symbol here, right? Inequality. Since it's just a less than, we're going to use the dashed line, right? It's not going to be a solid line, right? So when we graph this, we have to make it a dashed line, right? So now let's plot the inequality. Let's start off with the y-intercept, which is 4. So we're going to count off, go up to 4. 1, 2, 3, right here, just 4. And the slope in this case is the negative 2, right? That's your m. So we're going to go down 2 over 1 to the right. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Okay? And then remember, this is going to be a dashed line, so we just not connect the dashes here, right? Coming down. And there we go. Right? We're not done yet. The next thing we want to do is to determine which side we have to shade. Okay? Okay, so we're ready to pick a test point, right? This is our original inequality. Y is less than negative 2x plus 4. Again, I told you the best point to use is a 0, 0, unless your line goes through 0, 0. That's when you have to pick a different point. But here you can see that the line does not go through 0, 0, so it's okay to use this point, the origin, right? So now let's plug it in. Since I'm using 0, 0, right? So x is 0, y is 0, so we plug it in. We're going to get 0 is less than negative 2 times x is 0 also plus the 4. Okay? So now this becomes 0 is less than, this is 0 plus 4. And here we have 0 is less than 4. Now let's check this one here. Is 0 less than 4? Yes, that's true. Okay? So in this case, since this is true, we will shade the side that has the test point, right? So I'm not going to shade the right hand side, I'm going to shade the left hand side, right? That's the side with the test point. So the left hand side will be my solution set. Okay, it includes that test point. Since this is a dashed line, we don't include the points that are on the line, right? So for example, like say, let's take a look at this point here. That's 0, 4, right? This is not part of the solution, right? So no, this is not part of the solution, okay? But all the other points to the left of this dashed line are all part of the solution, right? So for example, you can pick any point on here. I can just randomly pick a point, let's say right here, right? So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be negative 6, 0. And whenever you plug it back into this inequality, it's going to come out as true. Okay? So any point that you pick on the left-hand side of this dashed line will always come out true. On the opposite side, right, if you were to pick any point on this side and plug it in here, it will come out as false. Okay? And we're done and we're happy.